Let's start with something uncomfortable. Hate is already heavy, but some people, they go beyond hate. They don't just want you to disappear. They want you erased emotionally, socially, spiritually, and sometimes, yes, physically. That's terrifying to say out loud. But silence protects the wrong people. They won't insult you outright. They won't slam doors or throw punches. They'll look you straight in the eye, smile. They'll say things like, I'm just looking out for you. I hate seeing you like this. Other people are starting to notice too. I just thought you should know. Sounds kind, right? But listen closer. That's not concern. That's control dressed up in compassion. It's not a hand extended to lift you. It's a velvet glove over a clenched fist. They don't check in on you. They check up on you. They want to gather intel. They want to stay close, not out of love, but to stay one step ahead, because proximity keeps them powerful. And the worst part, they make you doubt yourself. You find yourself thinking, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe they're right. They care, don't they? That confusion is by design. Because as long as you're questioning your reality, you're not questioning their motives. This is psychological warfare in slow motion. And their favorite battlefield is your self-worth. They'll give you advice that sounds helpful, but leaves you feeling smaller. They'll question your choices under the guise of being honest. They'll offer you support that you never asked for, and then make you feel guilty for not accepting it. The truth is, they don't want you to grow. They want you to need them. They don't want you to heal. They want you to stay broken enough to be manageable. Because your power, your peace, your presence, it threatens them. And when someone is threatened by your wholeness, they will often pretend to care just to stay close enough to sabotage. So how do you spot it? Pay attention to how you feel after interactions. Do you feel seen or scrutinized? Notice if their help always centers them. Do you end up feeling indebted instead of empowered? Track the pattern. Does their concern show up when you're rising, when you're healing, when you're doing better without them? Because that's the moment they panic. They don't want you dead necessarily, but they don't want you fully alive either. They want a version of you that stays small, stays quiet, stays dependent. And here's the truth. Real love doesn't disguise itself. Real concern doesn't shame, manipulate, or hover. Real support doesn't bruise your spirit while claiming to hold your hand. So if someone's care feels more like a cage, you owe it to yourself to leave the door open and walk out. Not because you're ungrateful. It's a subtle thing at first. You might not notice it right away. But slowly, like the tide creeping in without warning, they begin to erase you, not physically. No, it's much more insidious than that. They erase you emotionally, socially, psychologically. And the way they do it is simple. They strip away your personhood. They start by dehumanizing you in small ways. They reduce you to labels, names that don't even begin to capture who you are to them. You're not someone with a past, with dreams, with struggles. You're just a thing, a problem, a flaw. And once they've decided you're nothing more than a flaw to fix, they have permission to treat you however they wish. You're not a person to be cared for, with feelings to be considered. You're an object to be manipulated. They stop seeing your humanity. They stop hearing your voice. You're just something that either fits into their narrative or something they need to get rid of. You know it's happening when your thoughts, your feelings, your desires, your entire existence are ignored, belittled, or dismissed. You're talked over. Your needs are minimized. Your achievements are downplayed. Your struggles are invalidated. And every time you stand up for yourself, you're accused of being dramatic or difficult. It's never about your truth. It's about their control. They've rewritten the story of who you are. They've taken what makes you, your quirks, your history, your pain, and turn it into a caricature, a flat 2D version of a person that's easier to dismiss, to ignore, to hate. And they love it. Because when you're nothing but a label to them, they don't need to acknowledge your humanity. They don't need to see the complexity in your life. They don't need to validate your struggles. You're simply an obstacle to their world. You're just a person they want gone. This is where the cruelty sets in, because the moment they stop seeing you as a human being, they start treating you like a threat, not an individual with hopes and fears, but a complication to be controlled. And when someone sees you as a complication, they feel justified in doing whatever it takes to eliminate that complication, even if that means exploiting your deepest vulnerabilities, even if that means rewriting your story to make you the villain in your own life. Think about it. When you're treated like an object instead of a person, your voice is no longer heard, your emotions no longer matter, your story becomes their story. And if you dare to stand in your truth, they label you irrational, impossible, unworthy. They use your humanity against you, as if to prove you're not deserving of basic respect. Most dangerous part, this doesn't just happen with strangers. It can happen with people you love, people you trust, people you once thought saw you. But the moment they start erasing your humanity, you're no longer seen for who you are. You're seen as what they need you to be, a piece in their puzzle, a shadow in their world, a problem to be fixed, not a person to be loved. It hurts. It strips you down. And the hardest thing is that you might start to believe it. You might start to question if you are, in fact, just a burden to others. You might start to think that the story they've written about you is all that's true. But here's the thing, it's not. You are not a label, you are not a problem, you are not a broken version of yourself. You are a person, a fully formed human being with thoughts, feelings, desires, and dreams. And no one has the right to erase that. No one has the right to write your story but you. So here's a challenge for today. Look around at the people who claim to know you. Ask yourself, are they seeing you? Or are they seeing what they've decided you should be? If they see you, they'll respect you. If they see only their own version of you, they will never give you the dignity you deserve. And that's when you need to make a decision. Do you stay in their shadow, or do you stand in your full light? It proves they were right all along, that you weren't worth the time, the energy, the love they gave or claimed to give. And if they can just get you to fall enough times, they get to feel like the ones who know better. Like the ones who can say, I told you so. This isn't about helping you. This is about them feeding an insatiable hunger for validation. Your failure is their comfort zone, their secret victory, the way they continue to hold power over you. They watch your breakdowns in silence, and when the dust settles, they pick up the pieces, but not to help you rebuild. No, they pick up the pieces to make sure you never rebuild in a way that could challenge them. They'll tell you they just want what's best for you. But behind that mask of concern is a very different truth. They're thrilled when you're not at your best, because when you're down, they get to feel justified, validated, and secure in their view of themselves. And here's what makes this so destructive. The cycle is always ongoing. The moment you start to rise again, the moment you take a step toward healing or growth, they're right back there waiting for your next failure. And it's not a random occurrence. It's calculated, subtle but calculated. They'll undermine your efforts. They'll create obstacles in your path. They'll whisper doubts in your ear. They'll subtly manipulate situations to make you second guess your abilities, your decisions, your worth. And just when you think you've overcome one hurdle, they'll place another in your way. Why? Because their satisfaction is tied to your pain. Your success doesn't make them feel better about themselves, but your failure does. They'll push your buttons until you feel small enough, uncertain enough to believe that maybe they were right, that maybe you are the problem. But here's the cold truth. Their obsession with your failure is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of their insecurity, their fear, and their need to control. Because they're so terrified of your growth, they want to keep you locked in a space where you feel incapable, stuck, or broken. And when you do fail, they'll use it as proof that they were justified in their treatment of you. You see, they'll say, I told you this was going to happen. You can't do it. You'll never change. You'll never be enough. They want you to internalize their doubt and rejection, because when you accept their narrative about you, you become easier to control, easier to dismiss. But what they don't understand is this. Failure is not fatal. Failure is not permanent. Failure is not an indictment of your character. It's a lesson. It's a part of your journey, not the end of it. And just because you fail, just because you stumble, does not mean you're broken. It means you are learning, growing, evolving. Their obsession with your failure says everything about their need for power, control, and validation, and nothing about who you are. The truth is, failure is a human experience. It's something every single one of us goes through, whether they choose to acknowledge it or not, and it's not something to be ashamed of. If they can't accept your humanity, if they can't accept that you have a right to grow, to make mistakes, to fail, and to rise again, then it's time to ask yourself, why am I letting someone who refuses to honor my growth have a hold on my life? Because here's the thing, you are not defined by your failures. You are defined by your ability to rise again and again, even when they want you to stay down. You are defined by your resilience, your courage, your strength. And no one can take that from you unless you let them. So the next time they wait for your downfall, you need to show them that you're not just going to fall, you're going to stand taller. And when you do, that's when you'll have truly won. Because your success is not a threat to anyone else. It's a testament to your perseverance, to your ability to keep going no matter how many times they tried to knock you down. And that's what scares them the most. Not that you might fail, but that you might succeed in ways they never saw coming. One of the most subtle forms of manipulation is when someone doesn't just target you directly, they recruit others to do it for them. It's insidious and it's brilliant in its execution. Because when someone enlists others in their campaign against you, it shifts the playing field. You're no longer dealing with just one adversary. You're up against a network, a coalition of minds that are now working to destroy your peace, your reputation, your sanity. This is what makes it so dangerous. It's not about one person anymore. It's about creating a narrative that casts you as the villain, the problem, the enemy, and turns everyone else against you too. It's about them weaving a story, a distorted, twisted version of reality, and spreading it like wildfire. They don't need to lie outright. They just need to skew the facts, leave out crucial context, and play on the emotions of others. And here's the thing. The people they recruit aren't always bad people. Sometimes they're friends, colleagues, or family members who've been manipulated into believing this distorted version of you. Sometimes they're people who don't know you well enough to question the story they're being told. They may never stop to think, wait, is this true? Is this fair? Instead, they simply accept the narrative that's being spun about you, and once that narrative takes root, it's hard to undo. This isn't about honest concern or constructive criticism. This is about creating a tribe, a group that shares a common enemy, and that enemy is you. They gossip behind your back. They make sly comments in front of you, always framed as jokes or concerns. They pull others into the conversation, pushing the same false story that casts you in a light that's far from the truth. You can feel it happening, can't you? The subtle shifts, the way people start avoiding you, the coldness in their eyes when they speak to you, the way they look at you differently, as though you are the one who's changed, when in reality, it's them. They've been conditioned to see you as something else entirely, something dangerous, something broken, something untrustworthy. And now, instead of being isolated with just one attacker, you're surrounded. You're battling a whole group of people who have been manipulated into seeing you through the same distorted lens. And because it's not just one person anymore, it feels impossible to fight back. Every attempt to defend yourself is met with doubt. Every word you say is questioned. Every action you take is scrutinized, dissected, and misinterpreted. But the real damage isn't just emotional, it's psychological. When you find yourself up against a network of people who have turned against you, it starts to erode your sense of self. You begin to wonder if you're crazy. You start questioning your own reality, asking yourself, am I the one who's wrong here? You might even apologize when you haven't done anything wrong. You start second-guessing your choices, doubting your decisions.